here at the Cotton Blossom with Robin, and we wanted to share with you the top 10 things you need for your sewing room because it's National Serger Month. And the first thing you need is a serger. And this is their top model that Baby Lock, and you specifically need a Baby Lock serger. The reason you need that is because it's easy to thread, you can thread it in any order, and it takes no time to switch things out. And the reason why that's important is a serger is not meant to sit in the closet or inside your garments. The serger is meant to do decorative stitching that is exposed, that you can see. And you can't do that with just any serger because you have to be able to cut one thread and change from stitch to stitch to stitch really fast and really easy, okay? So the first thing you need is a Baby Lock serger. This is a Triumph, and it's actually a 4-thread serger and a cover stitch machine all in one. So the serger does decorative edges, and the cover stitch machine does quilting on your fabric, which, yes, you can quilt with a serger. You can piece with a serger. You can do pretty much anything with a serger except do a buttonhole and sew in a button, okay? And embroidery. You can't embroidery. So that's the number one thing you need. Now, the second thing you need is, and they just got these. I just told last week one of the students, I wish there was a seam ripper that would go around your neck. And voila, look what Robin must have heard me, because there's a seam ripper that's magnetic that goes around your neck. It has a little thing on the end of it so you don't poke yourself in the stomach. And you always have a seam ripper. You can rip out a seam with a serger. Anytime you sew, you're not going to be perfect. You're going to have to rip out a seam. So you want one of these that's around your neck that you don't lose, okay? The second thing you need is a pressing dowel. And they have this, it's called a strip stick. And the reason why you need that is if you're doing puffing or serger crochet, you have to be careful when you press because you don't want to squish your crochet down. So what you would do is you take your dowel, you lay it on the edge of your seam so that you can press your seam flat without crushing your serger crochet. This was made on the serger with a thick thread, this crochet right here. And then the puffing, which is really a lot of fun. I do it all the time. The same thing, you don't want it to crush. So you want to be able to press the seam flat on the dowel where you're only pressing this part and you're not pressing this part. A small iron, a small tipped iron is also helpful for that. The other thing you need, because the serger cuts that sews and you don't want to nick your blade, is you need Wonder tape and you need Wonder clips. These are the Wonder Twins, okay? Wonder clips is what you use instead of pins, and Wonder tape helps you baste, especially if you're doing puffing. It's a quick, easy, fast way to baste. And I used to be kind of skimpy and didn't want to spend money on accessories, but then I realized money is time. Time is money, and this saves you a lot of money and a lot of time if you invest in wash away Wonder tape. It's sticky on both sides, and if some of it shows, when you put your piece in the wash, it washes away, okay? The next thing you need is a purple Thang. And you need this because your foot is kind of long, and sometimes you just have to help your fabric along, and it's got a really flat tip, and you can get it under here and help your fabric and get in where you need to be with your fabric, okay? So this is a very handy little tool. Then you need to be, when you serge, you can't go backwards. So you have to have a way to finish off your seams where they lock. So sometimes you can pull them back through with a double-eyed needle. And these are very, very handy. It's a double-eyed needle. And then once you have the serge seam, you thread the tail through here and you pull it back through and you have a nice, neat seam. You get in a hurry, you can always use fray block, or if your seam is too small to put a needle through, you don't want to risk that, you can use fray block to seal off that seam. And this brand is soft, so if you're doing baby clothes, it's not hard and scratchy against them and they go, I don't want to wear that because that's itchy. Okay, so you want that. The next thing you need is a stripology ruler. When I told Robin you needed this, she's like, why? Well, because you're gonna sew exposed seams and you're gonna have to straighten up things if you do any sort of piecing. And if I've sewn this and I need to straighten it up, and I put a regular ruler over this exposed seam, it's gonna rock and it's gonna wiggle. But if I take my Stripology ruler and line it up, the slits in the ruler pop up where my exposed seams are, and then I can cut a straight line. So you really do want one of these and a rotary cutter if you're doing exposed seams. And if you're not doing exposed seams with a serger, then I don't know why you have a serger, to be quite frank. Because you're just missing out. The ninth thing you need with your serger is you need feet, accessory feet, because it's like having a base model car, but you didn't get any air conditioning, you didn't get the cruise control, you didn't get a windshield wiper. You know, you can go down the road. I mean, you've got tires and gas and an engine, but it's not as nice. And there's a lot of other things you can do. So if you have a 4-thread serger, there's a lot of feet, and all of them are wonderful, but if you just want to know my top 3 picks, you need, for a 4-thread serger, you need the cording foot and the ruffling foot. The cording foot has a groove in it that you can use to insert piping and install zippers, and it's very, very easy to install a zipper if you have a cording foot. The other thing you want is a ruffling foot, because you can ruffle on a serger without it, but it ruffles much better, and you're going to get closer to a 2-in-1 ruffle ratio if you have a ruffling foot. And then the third one that I would say you really, really need for a 4-thread serger is a clear curved foot. Clear because you can see through it. I like the clear straight foot too, but the curved foot is shorter. So if you need to go around a circle, like on this, I went around the circle, that foot is too long for inside and outside edges. But this foot is shorter and I can see through it. I like the fact that I can see through it is because if I do serger crochet, I'm lining up rows of thread on top of rows of thread. I need a shorter foot because it starts to curve. And with my curved foot, I can see through to make sure that I'm not leaving any holes. So that's what you need with the 4-thread serger. Now, if you have the 8-thread serger with the cover stip option, there's a few other ones that are favorites. A stress relief set of feet you can get if you just, I mean, it's useful to make, but you can do belt loop binders. I don't know why they call them belt loop binders, but because it's just, you use it for everything. You use it for handles, all sorts of things, but there's 2 sizes of belt loop binders, and you put your thread in it, your fabric in it, and it just handles itself and it sews it exactly perfect. And that's what I actually used braided to make the handles, to make this little handle for keys on this purse. And then I did strips of 4 belt loops and to make the handles on this purse. And it's just a lot of fun, and you start doing it and you see how easy it is to do, and like you just, it's a really good stress reliever. Okay. The next one that I would say you have to have is the pin tuck foot. This little foot cost me $8,000 because when, or however much my machine cost, it probably wasn't $8,000. But when I saw Lori Hernandez do this at an event here at the Cotton Blossom, that's why I upgraded from my Imagine to my 8-thread serger, and I'm really glad I did. But some of the really cool things you can do is you can do regular pin tucks like you would do on a tux. And that's what I have on this little bonnet. Okay, so that's just a regular pin tuck. You can do roll pin tucks on your 4-thread serger, but this is a regular pin tuck. But then if you look at if you flip it over and look at the inside, which is down here, it almost looks like crochet. So this is the back of a pin tuck with a colored 12-weight thread. And I just love how lacy and delicate and nice it looks. So that's the back and that's the front. And that little deal is so, so cool. You can also put a piece of cording in it and do shadow work, which I don't have an example of, but it's just a lot of fun. This is what the pin tucks look like when you have a piece of, I have that orange thread in the back, or peach thread in the back. I have a little shadow of the peach peeking through on the little hat, where you have the white pin tuck and the colored thread peeking through, kind of a shadow that matches the ribbon. This little dress I made completely on the serger. The only thing that I did not do on the serger are the buttons and the buttonholes on the back. Everything else I did on my Triumph serger, okay? So the pin tuck foot is just so much fun. This, I haven't played with a lot, but it looks like it's a whole lot of fun. It's a shearing foot. It's for your cover stitch machine, and it will let you shear in the middle and do all sorts of things. So we're gonna do a project with this before the summer's over because this looks like it's so, so much fun. So you need that foot, you need the pin tuck foot, you need the belt loop binders, and you need the last foot you need, and I can't find it. I may have dropped it. Oh, is the chain and cover stitch foot, because it is narrow. These feet, these other feet that you have for the 4-thread serger will also go with your cover stitch, but they're double wide because they've got room for the 2 4-thread needles and the 3 cover stitch needles. This just has room for the 2 cover stitch needles. So it's a really, really narrow foot that's very, very useful if you're quilting and doing designs with your cover stitch. Okay, so that's the other foot. There's a million other feet that really are useful, but those would be my top ones if I couldn't afford the whole kit and I had to buy them one by one. And then the very last thing you need with your serger is lots and lots of fun thread, because you don't want to be home after 3 o'clock on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday and have an idea of something to do with your serger and the shop be closed. So you need to invest in decorative thread. And what I mean by that is the smaller the number of the thread, the thicker the thread is. So they have 2 whole sets of 12 weight thread. This is the thinnest thread you want to use for decorative stitches, okay? And they have some multicolored ones and some solid ones. Now these, if you have a 90-inch needle, or not a 90-inch needle, a size 90-14 needle, these will go through your needle as well. But you need at least a good stock of 12 weight thread, and they have this, and then they have some sets of 12 weight thread here in this. This is a really good deal because you get several different colors, okay? So you want that. Then other things that you're gonna just get as you do projects and you're gonna keep is they have this shiny Razzle Dazzle thread. It's really, really fun. I'm trying to find something that I did with this. I don't see what I did with this, but this is really, really fun. You can use this. This is a thicker thread. I don't think it's even gonna tell us the size, but it's got like a glitter, almost like a embroidery metallic thread in it. Then they have another one. I don't know if this is called Wonder Feel Dazzle. It's shiny too. They have that one. They have, this is Pearl Crown Rayon. This is actually what you use to make this stuff with, the Serger crochet. You can make it with anything from 12 weight up, but this is really, really fun. It makes the best cording. Then they've got the soft thread that's the Arrow Flock, which is like woolly nylon, but it won't melt because it's a cotton-based thread. This makes really, really soft seams for baby clothes and things like that. The other thing you can do is if you have an extra thread stand, you can actually mix these 2 through. This is just a regular embroidery thread that's metallic. So I could put these 2 together and run it through one looper and have a really, really pretty effect. I don't have an example of that up here. And then the last
table runner in the back. What did you use on that?
Oh, this is I don't know. Maybe I used a couple of strips of metallic embroidery thread through one looper on this to make a shiny, because I wanted to mimic the shine in the fabric. And so this was like a nativity type thing. If you look at it this way, it's baby Jesus and a star.
It's the manger and the star?
Yeah, it's the manger and the star.
Very
if you
cool.
can lay it out flat. So, and all that is, if you look at this, all I did was sew strips of fabric together and then put other strips of fabric together and then make a geometric shape. It's not that hard. Then the other thing that I invested in one year for my birthday is this set. This is 4 and 6 and 8 weight thread. And this has just a ton. It's full on both sides, metallics, solids, what do you call the ones that are multi-colored?
Variegated.
Variegated. All things. And the reason why I really love the threads, and I really encourage y'all to stock up on your threads, one is if you don't have it and the shop's closed, then you just are messed up until Tuesday. And that is a very sad thing if you work. But the other thing is we live in Mississippi and we can't buy trim. And if you have a serger and you learn your machine, you can make any sort of trim just about you want. And that is the funnest part, is decorating your fabric with trim, but you have to have thicker decorative thread. And then the number one thing you have to have with your serger is time. You have to spend time at home playing. You've got to be not afraid to waste a little thread, waste a little fabric, and play. Because until you learn to thread and rethread your machine, you won't be able to do all this fun stuff. So that's really how I learned my serger, was I started playing and I made this quilt out of 10-inch layer cakes. So, and with that thought in mind, we are going to start having on our serger clubs, it's going to be practice playtime. You don't get perfect on your first stitch. You get perfect with practice, okay? So that's the top 10 things you need for April, which is National Serger Month, and I hope to see you soon in the classroom.